adult group, which is for, I think it's 40 to when you die if you're still single. And there's an in-between group for the 35. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know the age groups. Sorry, but there's 3 groups. But yeah, so I went to young single adult wards throughout my life because I told you I hadn't gotten married until I was almost 29, the month I turned 29. So I went to one when I was in Laramie going to school, and I went to one after my mission when I lived in Salt Lake City. And those are the only 2 until after my husband died. But yes, so we were sealed in the temple. I'm very active right now. I have a temple recommend. I haven't gone. I went to the temple when my sister had her grandchildren sealed to her and her husband after my niece was murdered. I went into the temple for their sealing. So I don't go to the temple as much as Caitlin. The YSA is a mess. Caitlin was being Caitlin, and we have these people in our church that are called ministers. We have male ministers and female ministers. And the male minister, Caitlin was trying to get to know better, and she over texts, and he called her a stalker because she was sharing things and wouldn't leave him alone. I don't believe it should have been called stalking, but apparently over texting can be called stalking. She had a guy she wanted to ask out on a date, didn't know he was dating someone else, and it turned into this whole big thing. And because these men have been hurt by Caitlin and the things she says and does, the leadership in both wards, our family ward and the YSA ward, and the stakes got involved, and they won't let Caitlin go to the YSA ward. Instead of telling these young men how to work with females and how to not be offended by females, they send her away instead. That's just my opinion. She's trying to learn how to be in, because Caitlin, my kids, I never forced my kids to go to church. My oldest son stopped going when he was about 16, and then Annie and Caitlin both stopped going when they were young. I was going to church by myself for a long time because I love going to church, and I always have, except for the few occasions. Now, that's not saying I'm a perfect person, because I've done plenty of bad things, but Caitlin and Annie and my oldest son always had my example to look up to. But Caitlin finally decided she needed to go to church as an adult. She wanted to. Throat is dry. So, being the mother of a disabled adult is very hard. But Caitlin has gone back to church, and she's been in a couple of different callings. She's had a calling in the nursery with the 18-month to 3-year-old children. She loved that one. She would sing, and she got asked to sing in church. And when she stood up to sing, the whole congregation got quiet. And there's usually noise from the little kids, but because she'd been singing in nursery, they knew to be quiet and listen. And it was amazing. Now she's what's called the librarian, because we have a library in the church, and teachers check out chalk and erasers and paper and crayons and I don't know, whatever they need, scriptures for their class to read. They check out the Bibles and stuff. So she's the one that's supposed to be there right before classes start and right before classes end, so that they can get things and bring them back. I know there are a lot worse parents than me. There's a lot worse children than mine. And she wants to be in a relationship with a good man so badly. And I know that, but she can't meet anyone that she would deserve to be with in the present mental state she's in. I know there's men out there who don't care what size you are. They can love you anyway. But they do care if you can hold a good conversation without yelling, or she doesn't yell often because she hates yelling, but without blaming or things like that. She might be able to do nursery work again. She's commented that she wants to, but I try to be a good parent. And it's so funny because my oldest son's friends always called me the cool mom because I'd let them do just about anything. I let my kids, I never grounded them. To me, grounding is just a punishment for the parent because you have to be on your ball about things and watch what every move your child's making. And I hated doing that. I hated feeling like a prison guard. I hated feeling like a spy. So I never did any of that. I didn't want to. But I was the cool parent because my oldest son's friend would come over and stay the whole week. And they would play video games. And I didn't care. I didn't care. And then my oldest son would go to his friend's house and stay for a week. And they would play video games. But, I was the cool parent because I'd make sure they had food. Or, sometimes it was hard. And I'd say, we don't have anything for snacks, but you can have popcorn. So we'd make popcorn. We always have popcorn in our house. Caitlin always wants everything right now. She doesn't have very good patience. She's working on trying to be patient, but it's so hard. Annie's live. My children all have beautiful voices. They all sing. I sing. Their dad, he wasn't a professional singer, but he had a nice voice. And my parents sang. They sang at funerals and weddings and in church. And they went from church to church and would sing. And when I was in high school, I was the pianist for their singing. So we did this thing. But we all have really beautiful voices. I am not Dee Dee. That is not my name. I have never used Munchausen by proxy. I have never given her anything that she is sick with. I never took her to the doctor and suggested it was anything. And my name is not Dee Dee. So everyone, please stop comparing me to Dee Dee Blanchard. I am not Dee Dee. I took Caitlin to the doctor if she was sick. She used to tell me she had a bellyache all the time. And the pediatrician said, they'll say that just because they don't know where they really hurt. So they'll say their tummy hurts. She had an appendicitis when she was 7. So yeah, her belly probably did hurt for a long time. So there's a lot of things that are going on. But Annie has a beautiful voice. Annie and Caitlin both took voice lessons for 5-ish years. A lot of people call me Dee Dee. I don't know who. I just saw it up in a prayer somebody said, release Dee Dee Slaughter from Cat Slaughter's blah. I don't know. Just don't call me Dee Dee. I'm not Dee Dee. Caitlin would like to be able to live alone or live with her roommate or do anything like that. And I keep telling him I'm not going to be here forever. And I try to prepare him for that. And Caitlin's trying to be a more independent person and do things on her own. But the problem is that neither one of those two can drive. And they had a counselor who once told them if they didn't learn how to drive, she'd have to drop them as clients. And they couldn't, and she did. And that was awful. That was a horrible thing to have happen to them. So when we moved to Idaho Falls, we signed them up for driving classes. And Caitlin, they make you watch those classes of all the accidents and all the horrible things that could happen to you. And she couldn't do it anymore because thinking about driving made her want to drive into the lake or into the wall or off a bridge. And so she dropped out. And then Annie got to the driving stage, but she has autism. And remember, that's a lot of sensory overload things for a lot of those kids. And she would run stop signs. She wouldn't stop at the appropriate place for red lights. She would be distracted by the traffic and pull over to the right too far or the left too far. Keep in mind, I tried to teach both of them how to drive when we lived in Wyoming. I take them to the school parking lot on the weekend because it's a big place. And there's places where it doesn't have stop signs, but you got to stop because that's not the right of way for this kind of traffic type thing. And I'd make them pull into a parking space and I'd stand on the curb and I'd say, go until you think you're going to hit me. And I'd tell them when to stop so they'd know how close the curb was. I mean, I tried. And Annie, we lived what's called on the foothills behind the main town, Afton. where we lived was like no man's land. It didn't belong to any community. It was just on the West Hills. And so the speed limit is 55. You come out of town, it's 35, changes to 45, goes to 55. It does that in a lot of places. And she could only speed up to 45, and it felt like it was too fast. So she was getting there, but I taught my oldest son to drive the same way. And he drives truck for a living now, took professional driving classes and passed, so. But Caitlin, she didn't want to leave the parking lot. She didn't feel secure. I know. And the excuses that she makes and continues to make are being dealt with in her trauma therapy. So it's going to take a while before she's better. And she is physically active. She has a membership to Club Apple, which is a gym, and they have pools. And she loves to swim because it's the best exercise when you're really overweight. But I personally don't like to swim. So I'll take her and she can go swim, but she doesn't like to do it alone by herself necessarily. So we don't know how long it will take Kat to find a husband, but hopefully someday. She has been trying to start taking her dog for a walk. She can't go far. That's the problem. So she has to go as far as she thinks she can and then go back, because if she gets too far, she'll have to call for a ride. So she's working on that, but she also lives in the basement and goes up and down the stairs, which is activity. Plus she goes out in the backyard to water the trees and sometimes the garden. We do what we can. And yes, she was really sexually assaulted. She trusts people too much, and she lets people go too far. And so she was sexually assaulted by however many men she says she was. I'm sorry, I said it. Should I say SA? I don't want to get, whatever again. But yes, she has. And she's a very sweet and caring person. But she just has bipolar 2, recently diagnosed with, not even a year yet. So we're learning how to deal with her lows, which are normal, and her really lows, which are the worst part. Because with bipolar 2, you hardly ever have any good. You have mostly bad. Let's see, what else? I'm trying to look at questions. Yes, she does need to focus on her mental health before trying to find a husband, and I think that's part of why they have her in the family ward. She wants children really badly, and she definitely has to be prepared, but it's going to be a while. And I already explained why she's not in the YSA ward anymore. I don't want to go through that again. She wants a big family, but I don't think she'll be able to do that. She isn't with the PCOS, which is now called PMOS. I think it's an M. Yes, M. She may not even be able to get pregnant, but she wants to adopt children if she needs to. So she's not against adoption. Alarms for her meds would be helpful, but that is going to have to be up to her. She's getting them in bubble packs, and she really doesn't want me to have too much to do with most of her stuff anymore. So she likes to do it at 8:30 in the morning and 8:30 at night. So just do it, That's all I can tell her. Set an alarm if you need to, otherwise just do it. If I try to have tough love with her, she throws a fit. Like I said, I cannot tell her to do anything. Even a suggestion is usually ignored. She is on so many medications, and honestly, with her mental health, she has tried almost everything available for mental health. She's even had electric shock therapy. A couple of sessions, she didn't like it. She's in the temple right now, and I'm in the temple parking lot waiting for her. She should be done pretty soon, as a matter of fact. But anyway, she's tried to change her medications, and it always messes with her. But there's a cheek swab they can do to tell which mental health meds are really good for you, somewhere in the middle for you, and not good for you. So apparently I have, oh gosh, I hate this puzzle piece thing they try to get you to do. I have 5 minutes left. PCOS does suck, and she is going to physical therapy right now. I have really bad vision. I can't. These glasses are mid-range and close-up glasses, and I usually wear them when I'm in the house. But I have driving glasses as well, and I forget to change. So I end up driving with these. And I can see just as well with the mid-range vision as I can with the distance vision, which is bad. But I've had cataract surgery. I've had radial keratotomy, which was pre-LASIK. So I have wheel spokes in my corneas to flatten them a little so I'm not quite so nearsighted, but I'm still pretty nearsighted and I have really bad astigmatisms. But anyway, she's been to inpatient therapy twice. I don't know about long patient. She dreads it. She hates going to those inpatient short-term things, and I don't know about long-term. So I try to help with her, but she's trying to gain some control over her own life. She's doing okay. When I say okay, it's a decent day. So she's still depressed, but she's not so depressed she's wanting to cry every 10 minutes, you know. And I do have to do this alone. I don't have another parent to help me. I'm an only parent. I've had shoulder surgery on my left shoulder. My right one's not as bad, but I heard it at work. Lavender soap. She has lavender essential oil, and hopefully we can use that. The fragrance oil made us all have an allergic reaction, so she can't do lavender soaps. Anyway, I'm going to have to go because I have a feeling that she's just about done with the temple. Yeah, her phone's okay. She got the water out of it. It's working fine. Oh, she just sent me a message. She's doing another session. So this told me I had 5 minutes left. I don't know how to extend it. I may have to come. I don't know. Let's see. She got over the live. She had to come to the temple to calm down, though. It's the only place that she can feel safe and like she can feel God's love and presence around her, enveloping her in there. You guys, if you've never been to the temple, you don't get it, but it's one of the most secure and safe places in the whole world. Okay, so Caitlin, we go to the temple. I love being so close to the highway. Not really sarcasm, you know, I can do it on here. My kids don't understand sarcasm, so I can't do it at home. But I grew up sarcastic family. We are so sarcastic, and I can be so biting sarcastic, but I've tried for years not to. Because the first man I was engaged to didn't like it and vocalized that he hated it, and so I had to try to cut it out of my conversations. But anyway, you go to the temple, you do initiatories, which are certain blessings you receive initially, and then you do an endowment, which is more blessings that you receive for yourself. And then the other thing that you do in the temple is baptisms for the dead. Yes, we do believe in helping our deceased relatives and ancestors and whatever. And then when you're married, you could be sealed for time and eternity as a family. If you don't believe in our church, you don't get to go in the temple and do any of this. And to go in, you have to be worthy. Now, it doesn't mean you have to be exactly perfect, but you have to be striving. And there's an interview you go through with your bishop and then a member of the stake presidency to get your temple recommend. And now it says you are striving. So you're trying to be good. You're trying to do all the things right. We all fail. Nobody's perfect. So right now, because she's taken out her own, she's been baptized. She's taken out her own initiatories and her own endowments. She goes and does that for people who have passed on. Now, we're not making the people that have passed on accept that, but it's there. If they're on the other side and they choose to believe the things they're being taught about Jesus and God and the doctrine of the gospel of Jesus Christ, then those things, the initiatory and the endowment and the sealing, if they were married and have a family, are available to them to accept. So a session is doing initiatories, or doing an endowment. So there we go. State prisons? What do you mean? Annie's business is so different from Caitlin's. And Annie wanted to do the live, but Caitlin thinks like her lives derail when any of us are in there with her, so she prefers not to have us with her in there, that she had Annie go to the other room. And I'm glad Annie was having a good live, but then Caitlin got upset. So the MSJ, state prisons. What do you mean state prisons? I didn't say anything about state prisons. I was sealed to my late husband. We got sealed a week before my oldest son was born. And she would love to be married and sealed in the temple. Got the same impression. Oh, I said you have an interview with your bishop and someone from the stake presidency. So you have to have two different authoritative people do an interview to get your temple recommend. I'm sorry about that. Oh, Karina's fridge. You found love at the state prison? That's crazy. Mormon is Christianity, yes. Initially, the people who were members of the church were called Mormons because of the Book of Mormon. Now, we do not worship Mormon. The Book of Mormon is not our only book of scripture. Joseph Smith, the founder of the church, who restored Jesus Christ's doctrine after having a vision of Heavenly Father and Jesus Christ, was reading the Holy Bible in James chapter 1 verse 5 when he saw, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, who giveth to all men liberally and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him. So he went and prayed and was told he would be the one that would restore the doctrine of Jesus Christ, because it had been taken away from and become more of what men wanted to hear than what it was supposed to be. And that's talked about in the New Testament as well, the falling away from Jesus' teachings and the restoration of the gospel. And I tell you this because I've been on a mission and I know what missionaries say. And I know what the church teaches. So the name of the church is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So yes, we believe in Jesus Christ. We are Christians. We do not, however, follow the Nicene Creed, which was created by the Catholic Church a long time ago, and most other Christian religions follow the Nicene Creed. There are a couple of really different things about the LDS Church, Latter-day Saints, or the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And one of the main things is we believe that what most Christians call the Trinity are actually three separate beings: God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Ghost. And there's many places in the scriptures, the Old Testament, the New Testament, the Book of Mormon. We have other scriptures, but anyway, that talk about, especially where Jesus was baptized, that the Father said, "This is my beloved Son, hear him." Jesus was right there, and the Holy Ghost came down like a dove. That's three separate personages, even though they reference them as Laika or voice from heaven. That's one of the ones that tells you there's three. The one other thing that differentiates my church from every other Christian religion, gosh, I guess get going so fast, is we believe in the power of the priesthood, which is God's power given to men to act in God's name. Now, the priesthood has been around since Adam. God the Father gave it to Adam in the Garden of Eden, and it was given from father to son. It's usually father to son, but it can be any worthy priesthood holder above you, because it starts out with 12-year-old deacons, 14-year-old teachers, 16-year-old priests, 18-year-old elders. Elders is the Melchizedek priesthood. The deacons, teachers, and priests are the Aaronic priesthood. Now, you've probably heard about Aaron, the brother of Moses. So that's where the Aaronic priesthood comes from. The prophets in the Old Testament all had the Melchizedek priesthood. And it mentions Melchizedek, Abraham going to Melchizedek to pay his tithing in the Old Testament. And that Melchizedek was the main prophet at the time who collected tithes and offerings. But the priesthood in our church, the men over 18 hold the Melchizedek priesthood. There's various callings in the Melchizedek priesthood. Elder is the lowest, not lowest, but it's the starting place. Then there are high priests, which are usually the men who hold callings like bishop and the counselors in the bishopric. And once they're done being a bishopric or a counselor, and they're done in the bishopric, they are back in the elders' quorum. Then there are things called patriarchs, who are called by the 12 apostles to give blessings to the people in the church. It's your patriarchal blessing, and it's a guide for you through your whole life. And you can get those anytime after you're 12. I think it's 12. Maybe it's 14. I don't know. And then there are the 70, which are the ones who organize the missionary work and oversee areas of the world to make sure that things are going smoothly in the church. And they help with calling of stake presidents. Stake presidents are also high priests, by the way. And then after the 70, above them is the quorum of the 12 apostles. And there's actually 15 of them because the quorum is 12 and the other 3 are the first presidency of the church. And there's the prophet and his counselors. And only one person, the 15 people that are in the quorum of the 12 and the first presidency are prophets, seers, and revelators. But only one person is authorized to hold all the keys and use them all, and that is the prophet. And he is the one who receives direct revelation for the church and actually for the whole world if they're willing to listen and follow. So, Caitlin can't go on a mission right now because she has disabilities and mental illness that keep her from doing it. What do you mean, do I lie to my kids? No, I don't lie to my kids. I believe everything I'm telling you. I've had personal witness that all the things I just told you about my church are true. I've prayed about them. I've read scripture about them, and I know they're true. And it's not a lie when you believe that it's true and you know that it's true. Caitlin used to buy clothes from Torrid. She gets a lot of her pretty dresses and clothes from Amazon right now. Yes, and she does, Caitlin does sing a lot of Christian songs about the Trinity because she loves Christian songs. The FLDS are the ones who still believe in polygamy. She doesn't want 100 husbands. She wants one. As a matter of fact, she thinks it's awful that in polygamy, in the early church, after it was restored, that the women had to share husbands. And the reason behind that was a lot of the men were killed by mobs. They were tarred and feathered or just outright murdered. And the women and children were left without a father to help take care of them. And a lot of the men had to ask their wives for permission to marry another woman. So, and that was just so they could be taken care of. Mormons, the leaders of the church actually went to jail for following polygamy. They had to wait for a revelation from God to the prophet of the church that it was time to discontinue polygamy. Now, if you look back through the Old Testament especially, you'll find out that a lot of men had more than one wife, like Abraham and Sarah. Sarah couldn't have a baby, so she let him marry her or take as a concubine, I don't know, in that country they had both, her handmaid to be the person to have children for him. And there are a lot of those instances. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph, Israel. It talks about people who had more than one wife. And so it's been something that happened off and on through the whole history of the earth. And some countries still let people have more than one wife. And they're not Christians and they don't believe in the LDS Church. I always tell her to keep her lives about business. And you're right, the FLDS call themselves Mormons. And the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints have been told by our prophet, the one that just passed away, President Nelson, not to call ourselves Mormon anymore. It's too confusing to a lot of people. Let's see. I don't know if she'd give you, ukulele lessons. She taught herself how to play the ukulele. She had guitar lessons in high school and had a guitar, and then she picked up a ukulele and the chord sheet, and she taught herself how to play the ukulele. So I don't know if she could give you ukulele lessons or not. Have I seen her fits? They aren't from there. They aren't from where? Yeah, I've seen her fits. I've been the product of some of them. I still don't know why Michelle thinks I lie to my kids, but whatever. I could do a lot more videos about the religion. This Mama Slaughter thing is supposed to be in support of Caitlin's business, but I'm talking about whatever I want to. Sorry, that's just how it's going to go. Let's see. Some of these comments aren't making sense because I haven't seen them all. She thinks of doing classes on soaps, but then she decides she doesn't want to share her recipe and she's afraid people would get it and then just steal her business. What is SLOMW reality shows? I'm sorry, I don't know what those are. If I lie like my children? She asked if I lie to my children. My children don't lie to you either. They tell the truth, especially Annie. Annie doesn't know how to tell a lie. With the autism, she's flat out honest. She's not brutal like Caitlin, though. Caitlin's brutally honest. Stroke. Oh, I worked on several lawsuits about people who had strokes, and it's just, my brain injuries are bad. I feel for you, sweetheart. Everything I tell you is what I believe and what is the truth. So take that as it is. Annie is a sunshine. She's very much sunshine in my life. She was a very sick baby. She was born 6 weeks early as well, and she barely weighed 5 pounds. She was born without a thyroid, so she wasn't going to grow well unless we got her on medication right away. And she was in the hospital for a full 6 weeks in an incubator. For the first 2 or 3 weeks, she had IVs in her scalp, stuff in her arms, her legs. It was really scary. She was a scary baby, but she is... You Are My Sunshine is the song I sang to her as a baby. My oldest son, I sang I Am a Child of God. And Caitlin, I sang Baby Mine from Dumbo. And the one from Lady and the Tramp. I combined those two. I can't think of it right now, but anyway. What else? The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. I think I watched like one season, and I think it is so ridiculous that people who don't live their religion need to go on the TV and call themselves members of the church, even though some of them say they've stepped away. I mean, it was just ridiculous. Secret Life of Mormon Wives, SLOMW, got it. I don't do the abbreviation things very well. Let's see. Joe. Thank you. That's a great compliment. I appreciate you. And I know there's at least one other lady on here who says we're the reason she's a member of the church now. Yeah, well, Caitlin's music choices are her own. She'd rather listen to Christian music than almost any other kind because there's so much negativity in everything else. But she's writing her own songs, and she also listens to some songs from the church and sings those too. I am allergic to Dawn Power Wash, and so is Caitlin. My fingers crack and bleed, and I'm allergic to the gloves you wear and the powder inside them. I learned that when I was janitoring at the schools when I was a teenager. It's just, my hands really got sore and awful and would bleed and crack everywhere. And so now Dawn Power Wash, we use it if we have to. And of course you haven't heard of that allergy, but I'm also allergic to Tide laundry soap. And it's so funny because when I went to college, I asked my mom, I'd heard so many good things about Tide. I bought some to use for my laundry, and I just itch all the time. And so one of the calls with my parents, I asked my mom, why am I so itchy all the time? And she said, have you been using Tide laundry soap? And I said, yeah. And she says, oh, you had an allergy to that as a baby, so I've never bought it since. So I'm allergic to something in Tide too, and I can't use Tide. So you just don't, change the way what we've been thinking about you doing this. Oh, okay. My day is going fine today. Yesterday was pretty hectic. Annie's girlfriend lost her glasses and wasn't going to be able to go to work, and because she couldn't see to drive. She can see well enough to do her work, but she can't see well enough to drive. And she called in to try to get the day off, and they gave her such a hard time. She said, can you take me? And I said, sure. So I dropped everything and took her to work and came home. And then we had other errands, and Caitlin needed to be here, and I needed to run errands while she was in the temple, and I had to go back home. And just so you know, it's like 20 miles from our house to the temple, and it's 20 miles to the bank from Idaho Falls. And it's, and it's 20 miles to where Annie's girlfriend works. And so I had to find a way to get gas today because the car gas got low. But anyway, all the driving wears me out. I love to drive, but when it's a stressful thing and I got to be somewhere at a certain time and do things a certain way, I just soon sit here on the temple grounds in my car talking to you guys as go home and have to do something else. Yeah, I wanted each of my kids to have their own song when they were a baby. And they still all love their own songs. Yes, Annie was very scary as a baby, and we were so glad when we finally got to bring her home. But I know on one of that's right, La La Lou, I used to sing that to my other baby, or to Caitlin. La La Lou and Baby Mine, I combined them into one song. But anyway, when Annie was a baby, she was sent home on a CPAP machine almost. But it wasn't a face part. It was just, it went around the chest with a strap, and it would tell you if she was breathing right or not. And they said, oh, if a green light goes off, it's a false alarm. And if a red light goes off, you need to sit her up and get her off the machine for a little while. And so, having the kids in the back seat, I'd have my oldest son and Annie in the back, and the thing would go off, and I'd have to pull over, and I'd say to my oldest son, what color's the light? And he'd say, it's green. And I'd say, oh, great. And I'd have to get out of the car and tighten the belt because it apparently wasn't receiving signal close enough. And that happened for like 2 weeks. And the alarm on that thing was louder than the smoke detectors in your house. It was horrible. And the baby and I were sleeping in the front bedroom so that my oldest son was farther back and my husband was in the back bedroom, and they could sleep, but it would wake all of us up. And so I finally called the company back and I said, this alarm goes off regularly, daily, and it's always been green. And you need to come get this machine before I throw it out the window because I can't take it anymore. We all need sleep. So she didn't have to have it anymore. Yes, Annie was born with no thyroid. Now, nobody can say exactly why, but I have a theory. And I was diagnosed with full-blown diabetes when I was 5 months pregnant with her. My blood sugar was over 500 and I had to be hospitalized. I also, right after I had my oldest son, was diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is the your immune system attacks your thyroid and kills it. Yeah. So between my Hashimoto's and the diabetes, I think that's why she had no thyroid. But they did an ultrasound on her little dinky tiny neck, 5 pounds or less baby, to see if there was any thyroid tissue they could stimulate, and there wasn't any. So we started giving her thyroid medicine. You have to take the pills and crush them and add a little bit of water or milk. All these motorcycles are making me crazy. Water or milk and a little teeny bit of sugar to it, so it tastes almost like something they'd like to eat, and put it in a spoon and then put it in their mouth and they'll take it. And so Annie's been on thyroid medication since she was 2 weeks old. And they said if they hadn't caught that soon enough, she would have been retarded, mentally retarded, and physically deformed. And there's a term for it, but it's congenital hypothyroidism. And if you look it up, you'll see it's called a cretin or something like that. And that's what they would look like. And she doesn't look like that, thank goodness. But they also told me to feed her high-fat foods so that her brain would develop properly. Okay, and yes, my daughter is the soap-making girl. Not sure I like the way you worded it, but oh well. Yes, and we were discussing the church, the history of the church a little bit. And I told Caitlin, says she wants to know a bit more about the history of the church. And I said, there's some things in there that aren't pretty. And some things happened that should never have happened. But as much hate as the members of the church were getting, I don't blame them for some of it, but whatever. No, my first name, okay, everybody, I'm Mama Slaughter, but my first name is Crystal. So no, Annie, she chose Anastasia as her feminine name, but my mother-in-law, her name was Patricia Ann, so maybe we could say she's sort of named after her grandmother. Anyway, you saw a boogie. I told you guys I'm allergic to all the trees and all the grasses, and I have the air coming in, blowing stuff at me, and I've been wiping my nose. We have not been to Nauvoo yet, no. 17 Miracles. I don't know if we've seen that one. Maybe we have, maybe we haven't. I need to put it on my list of movies to watch. Okay, I have like 80, no, probably more like 45 nieces, creations by Maddie Person. So I'm not sure which niece was your childhood best friend, but that's cool. Thank you. I am almost allergic to everything. Yes. I am allergic to all but one kind of tree. It's called a Lombard pine, Lombardy pine. Hardly anybody has them. That's why I'm not allergic. And I'm allergic to all but one kind of grass, and I don't even remember what kind it is because hardly anybody ever uses it. I'm allergic to dust, dander, pet dander, and people dander. I'm allergic to dust mites. I'm allergic to cockroaches. I'm allergic to mice, rabbits, horses, cats, dogs, feathers, and I have sensitivity to eating things like chicken, celery, radishes, capsaicin, curry, and guess what? I eat that stuff anyway because I love it. So in order to have not any of those outdoor allergies and indoor allergies make me debilitated, I get the worst sinus infections. I take allergy pills every day, and I have since I was in my 30s, early 30s, before I had my first kid. And I'm 65. So yeah, I've been taking allergy pills daily for a long time. Yeah, right? About no better way to word that. I agree. I am. I'm allergic to... Thank you, Anastasia. Annie, I saw that you came into my lives. Um, my allergies to the pets only act up if I pet them, then touch my eyes. And I have to use allergy eye drops too, by the way, every day. If I pet them, I have to wash my hands. Chronic sinus is horrible. I've had sinus surgery once, and I said, allergy pills every day from now on. Thank you very much. I do use Caitlin soaps. I do. We all do in our house. Annie and Caitlin and I, anyway, do. We give them to other family, and they use them. Hi, everybody. I don't know who's telling me hi. I'm trying to read some of these. How do you know if you're allergic to roaches? Oh, my goodness. You go to a doctor and get allergy tested. I actually was tested in California. And because there's roaches there, they probably tested me for roaches. But they went down both sides of the backs of my arm, all over my back, clear down below my waist. And they did scratch and drop on each thing. And they tested me for over 100 things. And the report that came back was just incredible. So, help who get the lumps out of her soap. She's learning a little bit more patience. She's making sure that the soap base is totally melted. The lumps won't hurt you, but when she sees a lump, she puts them in the imperfect soaps. And she has started to sell imperfect small, she calls them sample soaps. And some people say those are supposed to be free, but no, not all samples are free. She has some she calls minis, but when she does a collection, they're called a collection of samples. And you pay for the full collection, or you pay for individual ones from the collection. So she's been putting disfigured or weird shaped or extra colorant or like a skull, a green skull or a blue skull that had a pink spot in it or whatever. They're imperfect soaps, and so she's got them for sale, large and small. And thank you. I love these glasses too. I picked 2 really cool pairs of glasses this time since I had to have 2. Shampoo and conditioner bar. That would require a lot of extra work. She is going to go into either hot or cold process. I don't know which one. She's been buying supplies and coming up with a recipe, following other people and using suggestions. So she's been buying some stuff. She's just not going to get to it right away. She also wants to make some hard dish soap. Now, I don't know how that's going to work, but she's getting stuff to make hard dish soap as well. She's got the lip balms, and she's now using glass containers for those. She's got the cuticle oil that she made, and any of these oils, man, if they go onto your hands and your skin and your cuticles, everything feels so good. No, the definition of sample is not free, vermin. It is not. Sample food, maybe, but not sample products. And some people do free samples, but this company does not do free samples. She purposely makes smaller soaps to sell for a lower price so you can try them and see if you like them. And yes, it is sad that people make her look like a bad person. It's not free. You need to look up, are all samples free? And you'll find that they're not. And vermin, you need to watch out or you're going to get muted. I will mute you. Personal story about my severe allergies. Let me think. Before I started using allergy eye drops, my eyes would water and my nose would run. And before I started taking allergy pills every day, I would get sinus infections so bad that when I would blow my nose, it would just be blood clots. And I had to have sinus surgery to clear that out. And like I said, I've never wanted to have to go through that again. So I just know that, like, when people mow their grass, I love the smell of fresh cut grass, but my sinuses go, they sock right in and they hurt so bad I have to get indoors as fast as I can. Now, grant you, my house is not dust free. So I just I do what I can, but whatever. 17 miracles. I really have to remember that. She does donate a lot of them. She takes, she has baskets full of imperfect soaps. I'm telling you, undersized and imperfect. And we take them to the local community food bank where they take toiletries and stuff too. Those little tubes of toothpaste you always get from your dentist, and the new toothbrushes that are not opened, and the dental floss? We had 3 drawers full of that stuff. So we picked out the ones I use those things, but my kids like different kinds of toothpaste. So I picked out the ones I thought I'd want, and then we put the rest in a bag and took them to the shelter. And she does that with her soaps that she doesn't. We picked some out to sell, but she doesn't do all of them. And she donates to our church, our ward. She took a whole basket full of stuff that wasn't the imperfect kind to the bishop's office, so that if anybody needs soap, they can take one. She donates all the time, and you guys don't think that's an okay thing, but she can sell some of them if she chooses to, and she has. So opinions, everybody has one. They're not always accurate. Yeah, we think people will love the dish soap too. She used to make laundry soap, a liquid one, and my family loved it, especially people who had new babies, because it was more for sensitive skin and new skin type thing. Vermin, I have looked it up. Okay, let's see. Where's Vermin again? Where are you? I'm going to find you. Okay, where is she? Yes, I played in the snow in the 70s. I lived in Wyoming. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Wow. Yes, the mute button. If you guys can't be kind, you will be muted. And guess what? This person is going to be, where's it at? There it is. Muted for the entire live. Haha. And where's the other one? There's another one I want to mute. The church is not going to help her find a husband. No, she has to do that on her own. You're so funny. I didn't block Vermin. I just muted her because... And I don't care what War Heidi Skull says. You are horrible. So you're going to be muted too, because I don't want to see your name in my live. Let's see. I do not enable my daughter. I'm as kind to her as I can be, and I help her with just about anything and everything. It's not enabling to take care of your children. It's not enabling. I don't tell her she's doing everything right. And I have said this before in this live, is that my daughter, Caitlin, or Kat, as most of you know her, cannot be told how to do anything. She doesn't listen to me. So I make a suggestion, she ignores it. So things that come down on her are not my fault. But I try. I do try. I am not an enabler. And Anastasia, my daughter Annie, can vouch for that. I don't know. She may have opinions about me too. I don't know, but whatever. Yes, Kat, does buy soaps from other small businesses. She wants to see what they are like. And some of them she really does love, but she still uses her own as well, Anyway. Chicken Ramen, Lexi 32, you're going to get blocked or muted or something pretty soon here too. Annie and Caitlin have a complicated past, and they're trying to work on it, and sometimes things just aren't repairable. We'll just see how it goes. How long have I been waiting on Crafty to get out of service? What do you mean by that? Taking accountability for what? Telling me I can't mute the truth is absolutely incorrect. I don't know, Brittany, Bree, or Britt. What do you mean by if it's in her favor, she'll listen? That is not true either. So, you know. The Wandered Traveler. Hi. I don't bathe, Caitlin. My goodness, you guys are getting just as rude with me as you were with my daughter the other day. It's ridiculous, honestly. So some things are happening here, and you may not enjoy it, but I also have some words, but you know, that are supposed to make it so you can't talk to me that way. My daughter, Caitlin, Kat, who owns Crafty Slaughter LLC, was baptized at the age of 8. She didn't want to go to church, and I didn't force her. I did not force any of my children to go to church. If they didn't want to go, it hurt me inside, but I didn't make them go. I'm not even going to warn you guys when I'm going to mute you anymore, because if it's rude, it's going to be muted. No, Kat doesn't listen to me. And she's going to learn things on her own. And that's how it will have to work for her. Let's see. She didn't crash out on her own. She was provoked. The comments were rude and negative, and she is allowed to crash when people are unkind. Thank you for saying you're sorry people are rude, because people are. I am not going to be called an enabler by people who do not know the whole situation. Yes, and that's true. Torter Kura. You get baptized when you're ready to be, and you attend church when you're ready. My favorite soap. Oh my goodness. The ones I'm using right now are some old ones that she had from her first recipe. They have the argan oil in them, and they're called Twisted. They're chocolate and vanilla soap, and I love them. I really love them. They make my skin feel soft. I don't know if you guys can see my scalp line up here, but I have seborrheic dermatitis, and it goes around my scalp and behind my ears. And apparently it's sometimes on my scalp in other places, but it helps with this on my face, because I get it in my eyebrows, and I get it around the edge of my nose, and sometimes on my cheeks. And when I use her soap, it isn't as bad. Let's see. Who's learning to stalk people? Geez, that's ridiculous. How many accounts do you have? I'm blocking all of them. And that is true with grown children, but you have to realize that I have 2 adult children that have been determined by doctors and Social Security to be disabled. And when you have disabled adult grown children, they learn at a slower pace and they figure out at a slower pace. And I give advice. I don't tell them what to do. I've never told my kids what to do in their whole lives. I don't believe in being that kind of parent. I suggest. And so she's going to learn what she's going to learn, you know. Let's see what else. If people keep calling her out in comments, then the comments will get turned off because she can't handle all the negativity. And she doesn't have bad business practices anymore. All the things that were negative and happening in her business were taken care of early this year. She washes her molds. I wash her molds. I do it. She didn't need to scrub the other day. There's no hair in the molds anymore. Nothing has ever been returned. So we're not reselling returned goods. She doesn't let anyone return their stuff. So, Cass, sadly, you get to be muted because you're spreading lies. Her molds were not dirty, Caitlin Ant. I washed them. They have such residue sometimes. They have soap residue from the soap we're using to clean them. And I take a wet washcloth that is clean to them to get all that out. Now, granted, I'm a human and I don't see well. I see well enough, but I get as much of that out as I can. I don't know what cleanliness needs to be happening. She washes her hands before she starts. She washes the table and sterilizes it before she starts. She puts down, it's freezer paper actually, underneath the soap base that she's cutting so that there won't be scars on the table from the cutter, and it keeps the sanitation of the soap base there. I wash the silicone mats that she puts down when she's getting ready to pour. So I don't know what sanitation you're talking about. She doesn't have to wear gloves. In the state of Idaho where we live, she didn't want me to tell you that, but I'm telling you, gloves are only required if you're making food in your home to sell. This is not a food product. This is soap, turmeric sugar scrub, and body butter with some lip balm and some cuticle oil. Those are the things she's selling right now. Gloves are not necessary. She has clean hair. She puts it in a ponytail to keep it away from the table. She does not have to wear an apron if she chooses not to, and she gets some of the stuff on her clothes. Oh well, they get washed. And we use laundry sanitizer in every batch of our laundry. So the towels that we use, the dishcloths we use, whatever, the bath towels, the hand towels, they're all sanitized. So you guys are wacky to think that there's any sanitation issues. Let's see. Her attitude is usually fine, unless she is provoked by all you people calling up the old things and being irresponsible with the information you have. And I am not lying, and my daughter doesn't lie. And now you're going to be blocked. Let's see, who else? Let's see, where did it go? Oh my gosh. Okay, I'll tell you one more time that we are working with Social Security about her disability benefits, and it's nobody's business how that's going. We are working in other ways to make sure she's doing things the way she needs to. And yes, she does learn how to do things. She knows how to wash stuff, you guys. Honestly. Yeah, nobody returns anything. Things don't get to people because they don't give us an accurate mailing address, and they've never been handled by anyone but us because they're in an envelope. So, of course, she's going to resell things that were sent out and didn't get opened and were returned. But people who don't give an accurate address and don't get their packages, they don't get their money back either. Sometimes she does that, but they're not supposed to get refunded. Because if you don't know where you live and you don't know the address the post office delivers to, that's not an us thing. That's a you thing. And exactly, if you don't like her practices, she updated everything. The Better Business Bureau told her what to do. And they approved what's on her website as a description of her business practices. So if you don't like it, don't watch, don't buy. And she does not have to wear gloves. And I explained that already. But I'm not going to report because I don't have time to do that right now. Yeah, Christina, I think that's how you say your name. I'm shocked people are so hateful too. Adults who don't know their head from a hole in the ground. And the pet hair, she cleans the table before she starts. The pets are not allowed on the table. If the cats jump up, she stops the video and wipes the table again. It was there in January. If anybody's still saying it's there, they're out of their mind. I even cleaned the fan the other day so there wouldn't be any hair on it. So, and we vacuum all the time. So there we go. And isopropyl alcohol, a lot of people just like that, but it also does sterilize. We asked the doctor one day, and they said it doesn't evaporate before it can be absorbed into the other hand. Carly Meestayer. We've had nurses say things to us too online. So people who are medical professionals have said it's enough, but she always washes her hands, washes and sterilizes the table. So you guys just quit. The carpet powder, she may not bring it back. She may or may not. She has to wear gloves when she does that. She has to wear an apron because the baking soda, poof, goes everywhere. Someone used it on wet carpet and it clogged their vacuum and killed it. Now, I don't know how many other ones of you think you should put a powder something on a wet something and then vacuum it right up, but that was terribly unsmart. She actually has instructions on them, usually. I don't know why that person didn't follow the instructions, but I stick those stickers on myself, so I know that they're there. And a lot of people do love the carpet deodorizer, carpet freshener, whatever she's calling it. So I can talk to her again, but... And I agree that gloves can be less sanitary because you touch one thing, you touch another thing, you touch many things, and it goes on the gloves, especially in food service. I have worked in a restaurant before and at a school, and I know what happens with the gloves that you wear. I do know. Somebody else gets to be blocked. I'm just tired of all this negativity. Let's see. She's defending the business and herself, but she has a right to do both of those. And she should be able to stand up for herself and not have people call her mean and hateful and angry. Guess what? You'd be angry too if people were saying that about you. Let's see. And yes, I'm going to defend my daughter because I'm there and I see what she does. You guys don't always see it. How do we shame the buyers? Except for giving an inaccurate address. The business site says you've got to give us your name and address. And guess what? We have an awful lot of customers whose last name is Resident, which I know that's not your last name, but I'm surprised your packages get to you when you have your last name as Resident. Another person who gets to be blocked. I'm just not putting up with anything anymore. Let's see. Her temple visits can go anywhere from 2 to 5 hours. So it's up to her how long she's in there. Professionalism is earned. A business is a professional company, sure. It's a home-based business, so it's less professional in attitudes and statements, but we do not have to do everything the customers request. We do not have to cater to customers' requests. We don't have to do exactly what they say or want. You need to read the business practices on her website. If you don't agree with things, you need to read it. I have helped her come up with better things because, as I said earlier, I've worked in law offices at a law school and many law offices since 1979, and I retired 2 years ago, so that's over 45 years. So I can help with legal wording. I can help with her knowing what's good and what's bad. I don't agree that the wearing of gloves is for only the protection of the wearer. She doesn't need to protect herself from the things she's using. We do get a lot of attention from the last name Slaughter. And guess what? That was my husband's family name. And I took it when I got married, and my kids' names are all Slaughter. And it's fun to have that kind of a last name in some ways. In other ways, people are extremely rude. And she does use sterilizing techniques, and I've just explained what they are. Yes, I sit here waiting. It's like 15 to 20 miles to our house, and it uses gas to go back and forth. And we have a very strict budget. We're not poor. We can afford what we need to afford, but I don't need to afford driving back and forth to home. I'd just soon sit here and be on a live, or meditate, or take a nap, or enjoy the scenery and the wind that I love, than to drive back home and then have to drive back. Not all businesses agree with the customer is right. And we do try to make our customers feel secure, and we do try to use appropriate customer service techniques. But I've been a phone service person for over 45 years, and I know how to talk to people. I have a right to be hostile with people who are being hostile or rude themselves. So, goodness. And you're right. Whoever, I can't read these usernames, sorry. Customers are not always right, and that is true. And I have explained many things before. Caitlin does too. A pirate ship is usually cheaper. She has started to not use the first class mailing envelopes for every order. The larger orders, she still uses it for because it's less expensive to send it that way than it is to use a box. But she has 4 different sizes of boxes now, and she weighs it after she puts everything in, and pirate ship, it can do that. She had an issue with, pirate ship and military addresses. And it's going to take a minute for her to figure that out. But of course, she won't let me help. So if she figures it out, she will. And if not, if military people want to buy her stuff, they might want to have their family buy it and send it to them. That's the only thing I can think of. She keeps saying that she has to take care of her family. And I explained this before, but she is not the mother or the father or the sole provider for this family. Everyone who lives in this family contributes to our finances in one way or another. I do. Caitlin does. Annie does. So there you go. Caitlin is 25, but she has mental health issues, and she has, we think she has a form of dyslexia that has to do with numbers, but she's never been diagnosed because she has a hard time reading numbers. So she has issues, and we in our family know these things. So she's 25. Yeah. She doesn't charge for first class when she sends a box. So on the R app, people are going to say all the bad things and talk about all the bad things that happened late last year and early this year. I can't speak as to why things were blocked on her accounts, and I can't unblock anything. She is not charging first class and shipping a cheaper way. She is charging for the weight of the box. You people need to know what you're talking about. You have no idea. And shipping is really expensive everywhere. It's going up too, by the way. So yeah, it's just crazy. And I don't know the answer to everything because Caitlin does a lot of her own business stuff. I just help. But so yeah, those military addresses messed with her on pirate ship. She doesn't let me help with that. I know what a military address is supposed to look like on a label. She does not. So until or unless she lets me help with that, military people may have to have family order for them. I don't know why she can't figure it out. It's not up to me. I don't baby her. I walk on eggshells with her. Anybody who thinks I'm babying her or enabling her or whatever, you're out of your ever-loving minds. I don't know what her mods do and how they do it. They have talked about how Caitlin wants it done on there. She doesn't really want people to ask her personal questions on her business lives, but people do. And they ask the same questions over and over, and they've been asked not to do that. So I just don't know what to tell you about her business stuff. Not my end. The questions about her shipping will have to be addressed to her. I have no idea. Annie's on this live unless she left. She's doing fine. She went to a Retro X Com in Idaho Falls today with her girlfriend, and I think they had fun. I don't know. I haven't been home. Let's see. Yeah, if you don't want to pay shipping costs and you don't want to deal with addresses and stuff, just don't buy from her. I feel like I'm walking on eggshells with Caitlin because she gets very defensive if I ask her anything. If I try to tell her anything, if I try to tell her how to do anything with her business or within her personal life, she just gets defensive. And she is in trauma therapy, and the trauma therapy is causing old things to come up and be rehashed, and she dwells in them for a week until she sees her counselor again. So, that's how it works. Caitlin has never really been good at listening to me. She's just that kind of a child. So it happens. She does have a beautiful voice. I paid for my children to have voice lessons. Annie and Caitlin have both had voice lessons. I always wanted voice lessons. So I traded a lady when I was in college, when I was 18 or 19, I traded a lady that was married. I was in a singles ward and she was in a married ward. She wanted to learn something about piano playing and I wanted a little bit of voice help. And so we traded each other, and I felt like I helped her not at all because personally I play the piano really well, but it's a gift. It's not a skill I've learned. I took 10 piano lessons. I cannot tell you anything about theory. I don't know how to tell you what key I'm in, but I sight read really well. I don't play sharps, more than 3 sharps well when I play, so I transpose it into flats. I can do that. So there's just some other things. If I try to do Tough Love with Caitlin Rhonda Garcia, she freaks out, and I know that's what happens with Tough Love, but I took a parenting course and they said Tough Love doesn't work. So don't tell me how I need to parent my children. She's going to move out eventually, one way or another. She wants to, and she should be able to. She is in trauma therapy with EMDR. Now, if I have to say it again, I'm going to get really mad. Yeah, none of it is anyone's business. So let's see. What can I talk about that's not Caitlin's business? I'm at the temple. I'm on the grounds in the car. Yep, she should be done soon. Claudia, you don't know what our relationship is truly like. You don't live in my house, so don't tell me what to do with my daughter. And I'm doing the best I can, and I'm tired of people trying to tell me what to do with my children when they don't know the situation. Rosastasia, you can join me. Is there some reason you can't? I am not going to take over her lives, no. I'm doing my own, and I've done some that show you her products while she was in inpatient therapy in September, but, I'm not going to take over her stuff. We are getting family therapy and counseling. You don't need to advise us about that, Claudia. And being a good mother is not abuse. Thank you very much. Did you get on here, Annie? I hope so. What is not true about parenting, Caroline? Most people just do the best they can. And if you have an adult disabled children with mental health issues and physical issues, you have to treat them differently than you do another adult child. So it is hard with her sometimes, and it feels like walking on eggshells sometimes. I will tell her that you said hi, maybe. I don't know. Sometimes I don't. Yes, I'm going to get defensive. Because if you come in here and try to talk to me about Caitlin's lives and how nobody was being rude, I know better. I can see the temple from here. It's to my right because I'm not facing it. I'm facing the river. I'm not going to talk about the business anymore. There you go. Besides that, I think I've been on this live long enough, and Caitlin should just about be done with her work in the temple. My favorite Crafty Slaughter product, I really, this might sound weird, but I do like the body butter. My hands hardly ever get dry, but when they do, I love how her body butter makes my hands feel. I love the soaps too. And yeah, I love my glasses too. I bought 2 really cool pairs, one for distance and one for up close and mid-range. My hobbies. Now that I'm not working, I've gone back to more of my gardening and my flower beds. I just can't bend and do the things that I used to do as well. I can knit now because I've had carpal tunnel surgery and my hands don't fall asleep after 3 minutes. And it's the Idaho Falls Temple. Oh, I'd have to turn the car somewhere so you could see it better. Let's see. Can I see it? Let's see. I don't know if you can see it, but it's right there. So maybe you saw it, maybe you didn't. There you go. You can use body butter as much as you want. I'm glad you love my daughter. Never going to wear gloves. Sorry to tell you. Only unless she's doing like carpet freshener or sleigh mask. And I don't know if she'll ever do sleigh mask again. I don't know the details. Oh, gosh. Okay, I am not talking about the business anymore. So, I have a vegetable garden. We have fruit trees. We have fruit bushes. And I have a rose bush I need to plant and some bulbs that I need to plant. The people who owned the house before us put down some gardener's cloth, the black stuff that you put under like bark or rocks or whatever. And they put down rocks. And I don't like rocks for plants to try to grow up through. And I don't like the cloth either, because then I can't get to what I need to get to. So I need to get the rocks out. And we have a mature tree that has a frame around it. And I'm going to put the rocks in that frame to fill it up fuller. And then when it's full, if I have more, I'm going to throw the rest away. Yep. Because I bought some tree bark, and my blueberry bushes really like that. Either pine needles or tree bark. So it is 6:42 p.m. right now. The St. George Temple is beautiful. I've been there before. I haven't gone inside the temple for a while. And I have one tomato plant that has 2 green tomatoes and some flowers on it. I had to take off some of the leaves below the tomatoes so that they fill out better. I've already picked radishes and chopped, because spinach you don't pull, you cut it off and it grows again. So I twisted off and got some spinach, and I did radishes, and I've been watching the lettuce, and I've got peas that are growing and green beans that are growing, and I have 6 hills. Some have watermelon, some have cucumbers, some have zucchini, but I don't know what's growing in there. I have rainbow chard, which is a lot like spinach, but it's chard. And I have spinach, and I have beets, and I planted carrots, but I haven't seen the carrots this year yet, so I may have to plant them again. And I planted, because I love it, I planted okra, and I planted asparagus, because we love those. We have some yellow raspberry bushes. 4 were planted. I think only 3 survived. A seed that we're just not sure yet when or where. And I also planted 2 lilac bushes this year, one in the backyard and one in the front. We'll see if they grow. Yeah, we love to have our own food. And last year the corn did really well, but I didn't want it to shade the whole garden this year, so I didn't plant corn. Maybe next year, because you're supposed to rotate your crops, you know. So anyway, my favorite animal. Do I have to have a favorite? Because I'm allergic to most of them. I'm allergic to mice and all rodents. I'm allergic to rabbits. I'm allergic to horses. I'm allergic to cats and dogs. I'm allergic to the feathers on a bird, so I'm probably allergic to birds too. I don't really have a favorite. The cats do like me. The dogs do like me, though, and so there you go. They like to sit on my lap or climb in my lap and get attention. I love fresh green beans, too. It's a vitamin T. Rose, Anastasia, what are you talking about? I'm trying to get... Oh, you're trying to get her attention at vitamin.tee. Fried green tomatoes are good. I used to eat those. When I was a kid, we lived in Georgia and Florida a lot. I was born in Wyoming, but my dad was part gypsy, I tell you. He followed jobs. So in Georgia, we'd have fried green tomatoes. My mom, she loved to make healthy foods and whatever, you know. So we had fried green tomatoes. But I love okra. I love okra boiled. I like it in gumbo. I like it fried. I like it pickled. I love okra. I like black-eyed peas. I like catfish. you're going to have to do some research if you want to plant anything, because they need some care. Anyway, the house we bought had a garden spot already established, but I think they grew flowers or herbs in it or something. I don't know. It had been not taken care of for a while, so we've had to weed like crazy. When our had apples last year, there were so many, and somebody was coming over to mow the lawn, and we had to pick them all up so he could mow. And we had 2 kiddie pools, not the little tiny ones, they were bigger ones, and we filled them both with apples. And then we had to sort through them and throw away the really bad ones, and the ones that were bruised we gave away to a friend who had rabbits because they could eat them that way. And then the ones that were going to go too fast, we cut up and gave away to people who had kids, for their kids for snacks. We had 8 bags of chopped apples in the freezer. I mean, we ate apples every day. So, yeah, we love the fresh apples too. They're Macintosh, by the way. They don't sell those in stores hardly anymore. And yes, Annie does need to gain followers too. The squirrels don't get into our yard. Thank goodness, we have a pretty tall fence. I'm sorry, Annie. Hopefully she'll see it. Anyway, I think I do need to go. I love you guys, even if I don't know you. Caitlin says it too, but we're supposed to love everyone. So I love you guys. Take care of yourselves. Have a great weekend. I'm not home, so I can't show you the garden. But anyway, bye.